All right, good afternoon, class. I've decided to do a video with a hand drawing rather than showing you something that's drawn on a computer screen, because this is actually how you're going to draw your drawing. So for homework, what I'm going to have you guys do is draw a sofa chair with legs on it. This drawing is similar to the drawing that I've already finished here, but instead of a coffee table, we're going to put the legs underneath, put the sofa chair on top of it, and we're going to use a two-point perspective in order to convey that idea. So let me flip the pages here. Okay, so we're going to start with horizon line and two vanishing points. So I'm going to draw a line right across the middle of the page. It's a very straight line. And I'm going to locate left vanishing point and right vanishing point. And going more towards the left vanishing point, I'm going to draw a vertical line. That's going to be the corner of my sofa chair. So I'm going to draw it right here. And what I'm trying to approximate is a cube, something that has equal sides. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to draw two lines going to the left vanishing point, which will represent everything that's located on the left-hand side. And then two lines going to the right-hand vanishing point, that's going to represent everything on the right side of this drawing and this object. So you could start at any point. Ideally, you could draw two tick marks at the top and bottom, make them equal in spacing to the horizon line, and then draw two lines to each vanishing point. So just connect the dots. And I'm not being really super accurate here. Again, it's a freehand sketch. If you're using tools, then you could use your triangles and draw more accurate lines to these points. So one thing you could practice before you do this is actually drawing straight lines on a straight sheet of paper. I'm holding this paper for demo purposes in the same place, but you could tilt the paper around. So now we have a corner and we have a plane going to the, I'll label this the right vanishing point, RVP, and the left vanishing point, LVP. And I've got, obviously, a horizon line here. Okay. So I'm going to look at this right side here, and I'm going to approximate a cube. Now, if you want to use tools, you could draw a 45-degree angle here to approximate that that cube shape. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to say it's about here. And then on the other side, I'm going to draw a cube on the left side. Now the left side is much more foreshortened. The vanishing point is closer to that vertical line. So it's going to be a line that's going to be closer in. Again, if you want to draw 45, draw a line here. Okay, so that's my cube. You could restate lines if you like. For instance, I don't quite like this line. You could just draw another line here if you're freehanding it. Might be a better line to use. This sofa chair, or this cube, has a bottom to it. It's got legs to it, so I'm going to draw that part. And then the front of the sofa is kind of U-shaped here, with high arms. And then a cushion that's over here. So let me draw the base first. I'm going to start again with a tick mark at that vertical line over here and draw two lines, one to the left vanishing point and one to the right vanishing point. Be a little careful with that. And then I'm going to draw the U shape for the arms and the bottom of that sofa. So the vertical elements of the U are just straight up and down, so you can just draw parallel lines. And they don't have to be quite equal in this dimension. Perspective-wise, this is probably a little bit more narrower. Again, I'm just eyeballing things, right? At the bottom of this is the bottom of the sofa chair. The cushion's going to be on top of that. So I'm going to draw a line horizontal here and it's going to go to the right vanishing point. So if you notice these lines that are going to the right vanishing point or the left vanishing point, they become more angular as you go below. As you go closer to the horizon line, they're not as angled, right? So this is not as angled. I'm going to start from this point over here. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of gauging that measurement and that measurement. And I'm going to draw to the right vanishing point. So let me do that. Okay, so I've got a line going in this direction. I'm going to say that pillow part of the place where you sit is about halfway up to the middle of or up to the top of the arm. So I'm going to gauge about halfway being there. I'm going to draw a line in that direction, and that's going to be the pillow part. Drawing it very lightly. Okay, cool. I've got a structure I could draw into. There's an arm on this part here that actually we could see. So I'm going to take that side and draw to the left vantage point. Now, if you notice in the drawing, and you'll see this in the finished drawing, things on the left-hand side, or on the right-hand side, I should say, sorry, that plane will always disappear to the right vanishing point. So as I touch the sofa on this side, this plane will disappear to the right vanishing point. If I touch planes going on the left side, for instance, this plane here or this plane here, it's going to the left vanishing point. Okay. Okay. So let's draw the legs. So in elevation, I'm going to draw two legs here, and I'm going to draw back a leg over there to that. These legs have sides to them. Again, that part of the leg is the right vanishing point. This part over here that I see is going to the right vanishing point. Sorry if I'm confusing people, left and right. I don't know my left and right. Okay, and there's a plane here. It's actually part of this line. I just have to simply draw that part of the leg. And then I've got that part of the leg that I see here, and I'm going to draw the bottom towards the right vanishing point. I'm going to draw it all the way. Okay, so those are the legs, right? I'm going to draw the top of that cushion. It's right over here. Now, I don't see the very, very top. That line actually goes like that, so I'm going to leave that, not draw that, leave that alone, but I do see the top here. Okay, so so far I've used a construction line, right? And you could do this in pencil also. It would be a sharp, thin line, right? Now what I'm going to do next is use a medium line. Not so medium, is it? Slightly darker. There we go. Press down a little bit harder. And I'm going to outline the piece. So I'm going to outline. And what I'm doing is kind of building up. And you could even restate lines. Like reinforce that line. Give it a little bit more darkness. Notice how everything, when I start darkening in, starts really popping out of the page a little bit more. Okay, cool. I've got, I think, most of those lines drawn. And now what I've got is, I've got a thicker pen here. I hope this is a thick pen. Yeah. And this is a profile line. Okay. You should at least have 3 line weights on your drawing, just to get some differences in line. If you use the same line weight, it's going to be kind of monotone in a way, just one line weight. By varying the line weights, it gives more life to your drawing. So with this profile line, I'm going to carefully outline the edge of the sofa. I'm going to be careful not to outline the bottoms because they do sit on the floor. So I don't want the lines to be dark that sits on the floor. So for instance, the bottom of the legs, I'm going to leave alone. However, where there are blank areas, like for instance, areas where I can't see the underside of that sofa or the top of that arm or the top of that arm or that corner there, it's going to be a profile line. So I'm going to start at this corner, draw a really thick line, come up, stop here because I'm going to just outline the very edge. And notice that, around this corner I don't see anything, so I'm going to make a profile line there, put one underneath, over here, kind of be a little selective about where I'm putting that dark line. I think I'll leave that alone. Okay, that looks good. The last thing that I'd like you to do on this drawing is to cast a shadow. So my whole concept behind casting a shadow is one, assume one corner, either left or right, where the sun or the artificial light is coming from. I'm going to make the assumption that it's coming from the left-hand side. So what I like to do is draw a little sun here, a little sun shape, and estimate the direction. So that direction is usually a 45-degree angle. So again, you could approximate that. And I like the idea of, or I use the idea of a triangle to convey that angle of the light or the sun. So what I mean by that is that if I've got a vertical line here and it's casting a shadow at 45 degrees, then that shadow is going to fall on the floor at 45 degrees, right? So that's 45, 45, and the shadow of that line is going to be at a 45-degree angle, 90, 45. So let me show you what I mean by that. So for instance, this corner here is going to cast a shadow, right? So I'm going to draw a straight line. I'm going to draw a line approximately at 45. And this corner also casts a shadow. So I'm going to draw a straight line. And I'm going to draw a 45-degree angle. Now, both of these, you can connect the endpoints here, and it should approximate a line that goes to the right vanishing point in that direction. There's a line that comes around it. It's the edge of the sofa over here. I'm going to draw that to the left vanishing point. Okay. So this actually is the shadow, this underside is a shadow of the sofa casting on the floor. Now, the shadows themselves don't have to be super accurate. You could kind of approximate them. I'll show you what I mean by that. So, the shadow line is kind of like that. And I'm going to just draw. I like using these single direction lines to cast shadows. And you could vary it. Usually the shadow underneath is going to be really dark, right? Going towards the edge of the shadow will be a little bit lighter. This is a really bright sunny day. And then actually there's light that comes underneath here too. Just make that dark right underneath. Cool. Okay. So that's the shadow, right? We'll call that shadow. Okay. There's also this idea of shade. Now, shade is the part of the sofa that's away from the light. So if I've got the sun coming at this angle, it's lighting that side, but it is not lighting that side. That's in shade. And what we're going to do is shade that in. Shade is lighter. Shadow is darker. Okay, so let's go ahead and cross-hatch that. It's a little bit lighter. Including the cushion there. Cool. Now the last thing I would do is, may not be technically correct, but this side does get a little bit of shade, and I think it gets a little bit darker than the front. The front is a little bit lighter because light is reflecting off the floor or other objects. So I'm going to go ahead and shade that, but I'm going to shade it so that it's a little bit darker. Now, what light does to an object, it actually gives it shape. And it adds another element to your drawing that gives it a sense of kind of realism. So that's it. 2-point perspective, horizon line, locate the two vanishing points, locate the corner, right? Draw from the top and bottom. These are equal dimensions. One plane going to the right, one plane going to the left. Approximate the size of a cube, and then draw the details of the legs of the chair and the arms of the chair and that little cushion. And that's really about it. So this is a really good introduction to everything about drawing, really. Perspective, shades and shadows. And what that does, again, it gives that drawing shape, three-dimensionality. All of this stuff we're doing by hand. However, this actually happens in digital drawing also. So that's why hand drawing is a really good introduction to that. So try this. If you have questions, bring them to class. Show me your drawing. Again, this is going to be something that you'll put in your portfolio. Okay, great. Thanks.